This is a Dragon Blazer production.
Coming soon to a podcast near you.
Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Ichabod.
Boom, 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 boom.
Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Ichabod, Ichabod, Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Join in the merry mad adventures and escapades of that rich, reckless, uproarious rake, the magnificent Mr. Toad and his crazy cronies, Mr. Rat and Mr. Mole, as they step out of the pages of Kenneth Grahame's hilarious tale, The Wind in the Willows, as told by that inimitable storyteller, Basil Rathbone. For a rollicking ride through Sleepy Hollow, Walt and Bing bring to laughable, colorful life Washington Irving's exciting legend with that awkward schoolmaster, Ichabod Crane.
Ichabod may be quaint, maybe odd, and maybe he ain't. Anyway, there's no complaint from Ichabod, Ichabod Crane.
Ichabod Crane, daring, reckless, losing his heart to Katrina the cutie, and his head when pursued by the hair-raising headless horseman.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Coming Soon to a podcast near you.
We're back here again.
We're back here again. I am your host, Stephen, Mr. Stephen, wink. And as always is my co-host, the man who's missing a head from a headless horseman, Xavier.
I'm headless. You know, always making fun of me in these podcasts. Oh, where'd you go?
I
there
disappear
you are.
sometimes. I disappear sometimes.
You know, he's a phantom.
I'm like a ghost.
You're calling me the headless horseman when you're the one who keeps vanishing out of nowhere. Woo.
Yeah. So, on today's episode, we watched the 1949 Disney The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Xavier, What did you think of The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad?
Well, both stories are completely different, and the title kind of implies that they both have that their stories are intertwined in some way. They're not. Just keep that in mind. They aren't.
If this helps, both of these stories are based on very popular books.
Yeah, I'd figure so. I really do like the how the animation kind of personifies a lot of that. Like
Yeah.
I have not read any of these storybooks, but I can kind of, tell based on what is shown here how everything how the books were maybe, and then how the animation sillifies it. That's a word now, I guess. Maybe.
I think I've read The Wind in the Willows, which is where Mr. Toad comes from. I don't think I've ever actually read Ichabod Crane or The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which is what Ichabod Crane is from. I've seen movies. I know the story of Sleepy Hollow, but I've never actually read the book. which the book for Sleepy Hollow came out in the 19 or 1820s, I think it was.
Ooh, old one.
Oh, it's old as
Right,
awesome.
I know all the storybooks that these Disney movies are based off of have to be stupid old. Um, because like these Disney movies are old themselves, and they're basically like these are some classic storybooks that we have to showcase.
Yeah,
And like,
I don't think The Wind in the Willows is quite as old. But yeah, The Adventures of Sleepy Hollow was a collection of short stories. Um, it also had Rip Van Winkle in it in those
oh,
short stories.
interesting.
Uh, but anyways, so what did you think of these stories?
Um, I have mixed feelings. I mean, it's kind of just weird. Like a couple more short stories, same as the other two movies the three movies that we've watched prior to this. But
This was narrowed down
but
to just two.
right, but they're all bridges to consume until we finally get to the real juice, and that is Cinderella, which is its own movie in its own right, but we'll get to that.
So I just looked it up. The Wind in the Willows came out in 1908.
Hmm.
So it was pushing 50 when this movie came out.
Right. So it was like only, but it was still only like just shy of half a century old when this movie came out. But the other story that you mentioned um is well over a century old
Yeah.
and is now well over 2 centuries old now, probably. Or if not, then it's pushing 2 centuries. So funny how
Yeah.
time works. Like we see like animation as like a relatively new thing, but like here it's even more new. It still feels ancient because this movie here is like over 75 years old, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Almost. So actually it is 75 years old, isn't it? Or
Oh
is it
yeah.
85?
Well,
75. No, it's 80.
it's not
No,
quite
it's 75.
75. It's not quite Oh no,
Not
2024. It is 75 years old.
yeah.
Yeah,
Depends on what time of the year.
yeah, true. Yeah. Um, I found these movies interesting. It's got decent animation. Neither one of the main characters were super likable. I
Oh yeah,
mean,
so oh my goodness gracious. Um sorry, but like I have to bring this up. Like there like those kinds of movies that came out before you were born, but you recognize as classics because like wow, that was a movie that came out before I was born, but you could never tell that. Like for me, that's movies like The Lion King, um fe- which do feel like among classics to me because that came out
careful, careful.
before I was born. Meanwhile,
Uh-huh.
like I have to imagine for you that be movies like Star Wars or stuff like that, like movies from like the mid to late 70s, since you were born in the beginning of the 80s. Well, I was born in the beginning of the 20s. And this movie would probably be that kind of movie within like grandparents childhood that came, because this would come out probably before many of our grandparents. Probably not for you because you're old, but not for me because I'm
Yes, my grandparents. I mean, my grandparents are no longer alive, but um,
Sad.
my grandparents were alive or were born before this movie came out.
Right.
So you're correct on that, I suppose.
It is a funny thing how time works.
Hmm.
You don't seem to agree with me on that.
That it's funny how time works.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it's a little bit funny, little bit. So,
Uh,
did which story did you enjoy more?
Probably Mr. Toad. As a rabid fan of like just random adventure stories, um, I think it's great to see different types of adventure stories because like they could they could go any which way. Like you could start it off as some boring dude just wanting to have an adventure, and it's like one point that just branches out into any potential way. It's just it feels like you could take that story on forever until like because there's until there's nothing left to uncover, adventure or whatever. Um, Obviously, Mr. Toad seem the story about Mr. Toad seems to be less about adventure and more about, hey, please be careful with your adventuring because it is having some political discourse back here in the politic land.
I think I preferred, and maybe this is just because I like a good horror story, but I preferred The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Ichabod Crane. Um, and to my understanding, the story they told was pretty similar to the original Ichabod or the Sleepy Hollow story. Like they
Huh.
didn't venture too far off from it. I don't believe.
I thought it was a really weird one, mostly because like pushing aside the ending for a second, because that's a whole other can of worms. But the good amount of the story is this this cool this cool story man goes to town, eats some apples, and starts shaming the ugly girls. Which okay, yeah, okay, sure. What I don't know what that's supposed to be like. What? Okay. Just kind of douchey, but all right. This is a kids movie, I guess. This um and then a pretty girl comes along and like everything's just fantastic, man. I like pretty girls.
Yeah,
Oh wait, no, not just pretty. She's probably rich too.
yeah.
Yep,
That was the interesting thing about the Sleepy Hollow is, and I guess that's true to the original story. But
true love.
Ichabod Crane's kind of a douchebag.
True love, I guess.
Not saying the guy that he's fighting for Katrina's affections are, Brom Bones or whatever his name is, isn't also kind of a douchebag. And let's be honest, Katrina's kind of a douchebag as well. Because she's literally just pitting these two up to each other. And as soon as Ichabod Crane, who seems like she was more interested in to an extent, as soon as he gets his head freaking chopped off, allegedly, she goes straight to the Brom Bones and marries him.
Am I the only one who thought that maybe the headless horseman could have possibly have been than the Brombones dude, and, until of course he looked inside the headless horseman and his head and just like, oh, okay, no, this is an actual headless dude.
No, that is actually implied that it was possible that it was him.
Okay,
Um, that is definitely like in the story, I guess I should say. Um, they mentioned that the townsfolk thought maybe it was Brombones, but it's never.
outright
It's
stated.
yeah, it's never confirmed, and also Ichabod is not confirmed dead because they never found his body. They just found his hat. They didn't find his head or his body. They just found his hat.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
pretty dark story, all things considered.
it is. It's definitely a dark story.
Just like, yep, this ends off with the main character dead, but he's a douche, so it's fine.
Really, there's not a non-douche character in the story.
Yeah, it's just the main character who is not more or less douchey. You could argue, I don't know. I mean, only one of those characters is dead, is a murderer. So it's like, oh, I like this girl. I'm gonna chop off this guy's head. You know, manslaughter. But you can't.
Ichabod,
Can't.
Ichabod train.
Yep. Schlack.
And I also found it funny. I found it weird, especially the way they draw this character, that he's essentially a ladies' man. He does not seem like a ladies' man at all.
I'm glad I wasn't the first one to think that. Like I don't. I feel like characters like back in the day were definitely generalized. So this definitely felt odd. Like he does like the most manly I don't know, alpha male kind of characters that you would see in these old style um movies and stories and whatnot would probably have more of a broad-esque figure to sinuize like, I am a man who will bury children and make a ton of money. I will inherit your farm and fight in the wars, sing my sword with my gallant arm hair. I
Arm hair.
don't know. Arm hair is pretty manly, I guess.
Sure, if you say so.
Ichabod Crane, though. I guess he's just so alpha male that he doesn't even need any of that. He's just that awesome, I guess. I don't know, man. Why draw him with a nose? Is that how he was described though?
With
Why
a-
draw him with the big nose? Why draw him with
He
the big ears?
he's described as a lanky character. I think he is supposed to have a big nose in the book.
I don't know, man. I do know that we're getting into a bit more of a progressive society where Squidward is seen as sexy, but that's also because of Rule 34 and
Wait, Squidward's sexy? I don't understand this world,
look
man.
look up sexy Squidward.
I
Do
don't
it do it right
I
now.
don't I don't want to.
While we are recording, look up sexy Squidward.
I really, really don't want to see this.
That do it while we are recording. This is how we get views.
Is it? Sexy Squidward is how we're getting. Oh, I'm lowering myself to getting views with sexy Squidward. I'm scared. What the hell? He's twerking.
Oh,
Yep. This is something I can never unsee now. This is exactly what I didn't want in my life.
All right. Well, now you have that ingrained in your head, and as you can see, it is possible for big nose-esque characters, I guess, to be a bit of a ladies' man and milady. Milady. There we go.
So your favorite story was the Mr. Toad story. Do you have a favorite character?
Uh, hmm. I'd have to say the lawyer.
Where?
The lawyer. Like as I said,
Oh,
the uh the lawyer was just like as I've said, like this is the type of movie like it's back in the day where everything's more or less generalized, and and seeing them generalize a lawyer, but in the most like overblown way possible. Just, yeah, this is an evil conniving lawyer, but it's like he revels in like everything he does. He's a villain. He's a villain who isn't the villain of the movie, but it's all I can say is that I laughed at all that scene just because it's like it's because lawyers aren't exactly one of those things that you can really make work in a kids movie because it's a very adult concept, like a family court and the Supreme Court and stuff like that. All that is for lawyers, and kids don't really care about this about court, and they don't really care about lawyers. All they know is that adults hate lawyers, and they don't really know why or anything like that.
it's just,
Um,
it's just making me thinking about the Crazy Ex-Girlfriend song, Don't Be a
don't be a
Lawyer.
lawyer. Yeah, but like seeing how movie makers um write lawyers in a kids movie is pretty hilarious because like the and in either way like he feels so evil and overblown, just like high energy for no apparent reason. It's just funny to me.
Yeah, I understand. I like I like the lawyer. I understand why you like him. Um, I don't know if I have a favorite, if to be honest with you, because I mean I don't really give a crap about Brown Bones. I guess the Badger.
Yeah, you do kind of feel sorry for him because like you I have to imagine that a child watching this movie would be like, wow, he's so overblown. Like, why didn't he just let Mr. Toad have do adventuring or whatever? But like, dude's doing paperwork because of someone else's want to like go see go I don't know, screw everything up. I don't know what Mr. Toad's goals here. I mean, it's adventuring, but it's also like ooh, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that and that and that and that and that and that and that. And not really looking at the consequences of his actions. And it's the badger that's it's the badger that's taking all the heat there.
Yeah.
It's him that gets Mr. Toad pretty much like um out of the well, not directly out of the jail, but it's him that clears his name for the
Right.
most part.
Well, Mr. Toad kind of clears his own name by breaking out of prison. I
Well,
had to look.
the only reason he broke out of prison was because of the horse.
So I had to look up because I was curious if the because you see this in cartoons a lot, the whole ball and chain thing. I had to look up to see if that was real because I was curious because
Oh,
obviously in my
oh, my
lifetime,
Pidgeotto's evolving into a Pidgeot. Finally.
okay, but I've never seen that in my lifetime, so I wasn't sure if that was even a real thing or if it was just created for cartoons.
It's
And
because the world's been gaslighting us.
and
Man, what?
sure enough, I looked it up, and yeah, it it was a real thing.
Man, how crazy is it that like we're all going through life wondering actually if some of the stuff from the past existed. Like, man, I can imagine maybe like 50 to 100 years from now, we're gonna be wondering like, man, did guillotines even exist, or is that something that's just exaggerated from the past, or did I don't know.
Yeah,
You know,
guillotines are kind of a crazy concept if you think about it.
yeah, it's just like let's make this really big structure, put a blade at the top, and just have it drop on the dude's head.
Yeah.
Instead of, I don't know, hiring some big muscly guy, sharpen an axe and chop off the dude's head. I mean, I guess it's a lot less effort, but like, is it? Is it less? I mean, I guess you're pulling up a rope. Hang on, what is more effort here? Um, pulling up and dropping a blade, or just cutting the dude's head off with an axe, with a swing of the axe. Probably the guillotine, but like you also have to build the thing and or buy it. And either way, it's a good.
Um, it's just automatically brought up and then they let go of it or something. I'm not sure. I've never really considered the concept of guillotines,
Hmm,
to be honest with you.
right.
Anyways, I suppose we should ask what what do you give this movie?
I'd give it a. Hmm, I'd give it a 5. Solid 5 out of 10 Squidwards.
No, no, do not accept this. Why are you bringing up sexy Squidward?
Handsome Squidward as well. The handsome Squidward, I think everybody can agree, is pretty sexy.
I don't I don't like where this is going at all.
Hey there, sexy Squidward, be in your house. I hope you don't harvest my kidneys.
No. Anyways, rating. What do you give this?
5 out of 10 sexy Squidwards. I already said. What do you give it?
Nothing that involves sexy Squidward. I give it it's all right. 6.5 severed heads.
You rated above average.
Yeah, I think it's an all right movie.
Okay.
It's not bad. We've definitely watched worse.
Yeah.
So what is your guess on IMDb or not IMDb?
Right,
Uh,
Rotten Tomato.
Rotten Tomatoes.
I'll guess 72 for I guess 72 for critics and 80 for audience.
72
Yes.
and 80. I'm gonna say critics give this a 83 and audience give this, I'm not sure. I don't hear much about this one. 75.
Okay.
All right, let me get this up. This is a long title to type in.
Okay, I wrote down our scores on the meeting chat thingy.
Okay. All right. Here it is. Critics have this at 88%.
All right, so that is close. So you're closer.
Audience
You're
gives,
just 5 away, actually.
and audience gives it 71%.
You're closer on that one too. You're on a roll in this one.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a cinemantra?
This one could go either way, I guess. It just depends on whether you want to do it a Ichabod or Mr. Toad kind of cinemantra. Hmm. Hmm. From among the Disney movies we have seen so far, full featured, either full featured or not, or like short story kind of things. What world or story would you want to what world within one of these Disney movies that we have seen thus far would you want to be transported to, or as the weebs call it, isekai'd to, and what would you do there?
Um, I'm gonna probably go with Snow White,
Hmm.
and only because that one takes place in Germany. Just because I'd like to visit Germany.
What would you do there?
Visit Germany. And definitely go to the Oktoberfest and drink a lot of alcohol. I regret nothing.
I'll give you an 8.
All right,
9. I'll give you a 9.
9.
Yeah, 9 for you.
My cinemantra is simple. If you were, let's say you were born at any point in history, what type of weird vehicle would you like to borrow and go on a joyride with? So essentially, like if you were Mr. Toad,
I
and
didn't see.
obsessed.
You kind of disappeared like a phantom, but I'm gonna assume that you used air quotes.
I did.
Okay. That's a good question. I would take one of the cars that were spraying lead into the atmosphere. Actually, I would take a lot of cars that were spraying lead into the atmosphere and then blow them the fuck up.
You would blow up cars.
The ones that were destroying the atmosphere, yeah. Blow and murdering the ozone layer.
So you're not going on a joyride. You're gonna be a freedom fighter.
I'll go on a joyride with not that. I'll take a cool little buggy over there or no, better yet, I'll take a semi truck that'll be dragging these these lead cars that are poisoning kids and adults alike, and just take them to the side, blow them the hell up, and cool.
All right.
Paradox, good paradox. That'll
All right.
probably cause some sort of bad butterfly effect, but I say
All right, Xavier,
let
where can we find you?
um I am Cryokin Artist and Snowshine Gaming on the YouTubes. I rarely use my other social medias, but I am Cryokin Artist on the Instagrams and the Facebook if you were to try and look for me, but I rarely use those apps at the time being. But
All right.
I'm also in the process of finishing up my comic, making a one shot. Still contemplating where I'm going to do that, but it's probably going to be Manga Plus. Anyways, though, that's me. Plug in your
All right.
pluggables.
You can
Video.
find me at Dragon Blazer Productions on the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the YouTubes, and you can find me on TikToks at Dragon Blazer Pro. And auf Wiedersehen.
Peace.
Hello once again. Please, if you will, like and subscribe onto our YouTube page titled Coming Soon to a Podcast Near You, where all these wacky podcasts where we watch movies and review them go on. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Peace.